Here's something nobody tells you about your first $100,000, and it nearly broke me financially. It's not just a number. It's a psychological prison that 95% of Americans never escape. I was trapped there for 8 brutal years, watching my savings crawl from $5,000 to $15,000 to maybe $30,000, feeling like I was running on a financial treadmill going absolutely nowhere. You know that feeling, right? You sacrifice everything. Skip dinners with friends, cancel subscriptions you actually enjoyed, work overtime until you're exhausted, and at the end of the month you've managed to save $300. You check your investment app, hoping for some miracle, and it's barely moved. Maybe up $50, maybe down $30. It's soul-crushing because money grows painfully slow in the beginning, and nobody prepared you for how demoralizing that would feel. Here's the brutal reality. Most people give up right here. They think, if saving feels this impossible, I'll never make it to real wealth. But here's what changed everything for me. I discovered these 5 specific strategies that took me from $12,000 in credit card debt to $100,000 in assets in just 4 years. What I'm about to share isn't motivation or theory. These are the exact moves that broke me out of financial prison. By the end, you'll understand why most people stay trapped under $50,000 forever. And more importantly, how to escape that trap starting today. Ready? Let's break down these financial walls once and for all. Tip number 1, the debt vampire killer. Eliminate financial bloodsuckers. 3 years ago, I thought I was being financially smart. I was paying $847 monthly across 4 different credit cards while simultaneously investing $200 in index funds. I felt like Warren Buffett, diversifying my debt and building my investment portfolio. I even bragged to friends about playing both sides of the game. Then I did the math that shattered my delusions. I was paying an average of 22% interest on my credit cards while earning 8% on my investments. That's a net loss of 14% every single month. I was literally losing money faster than I could make it, like trying to fill a bucket while someone drilled holes in the bottom faster than water could flow in. Here's the brutal mathematical reality that most people ignore. If you're carrying high-interest debt while trying to invest, you're financially bleeding to death. Every month, I kept those credit cards. I lost $500+ to interest payments alone. That's $6,000 annually, enough to fully fund a Roth IRA. I was essentially paying the credit card companies to prevent me from building wealth. This is why debt elimination isn't just the first step. It's the emergency room that saves your financial life. You cannot build wealth while hemorrhaging cash to interest payments. It's mathematically impossible. Here's your debt destruction strategy. First, list every single debt you have: credit cards, personal loans, car payments, student loans, everything. Write down the balance, minimum payment, and interest rate for each. Now sort them by interest rate, highest to lowest. This is your hit list. Focus every extra dollar on the highest interest debt while paying minimums on everything else. This is called the debt avalanche method, and it's mathematically superior to any other approach. When that first debt dies, take its entire monthly payment and add it to the next highest interest debt. The payments snowball until you're debt-free. But not all debt is created equal. There's bad debt that's stealing your future, and manageable debt that won't kill your wealth-building momentum. Bad debt that needs to die immediately. Credit cards above 15%, personal loans, overdraft fees, payday loans, and high-interest car payments above 8%. These are financial vampires sucking your wealth dry. Manageable debt you can live with temporarily. Student loans under 4%, mortgages under 4%, and car loans under 5%. These won't destroy your wealth-building timeline if you're strategic about them. Use tools to accelerate this process. Apps like undebt.it show you exactly when you'll be debt-free based on your payment strategy. YNAB helps track every dollar going toward debt elimination. Set up automatic payments so you never miss a due date and pay penalty fees. Here's what happened when I finally got serious about debt elimination. Within 18 months, I went from $12,000 in credit card debt to zero. That $847 monthly payment immediately became $847 in monthly investment contribution. My wealth-building timeline accelerated by literally years because I stopped bleeding money to interest payments. Once you stop paying banks to keep you poor, you can finally start building real wealth. But here's the thing. Saving money in regular accounts won't get you to $100,000 fast enough. Tip number 2, the money multiplication engine, from saver to investor. Let me tell you about the most expensive financial lesson my family ever learned. My grandmother was the most disciplined saver I've ever known. For 30 years, she religiously saved $500 every month in savings accounts and CDs, never missing a payment, never touching the money. She thought she was being financially responsible, and she was, by 1950s standards. After 3 decades of perfect discipline, she had accumulated $180,000. Impressive, right? Then I met my friend Jake, who started investing the exact same $500 monthly, but in index funds instead of savings accounts. Here's what blew my mind. Jake reached $247,000 in just 20 years. 10 fewer years than my grandmother, but $67,000 more wealth. Same discipline, same monthly contribution, but completely different results. That's when I realized the devastating difference between saving and investing. Saving is storing money safely, but letting inflation slowly eat away at its purchasing power. Investing is deploying money as workers that generate more money while you sleep. My grandmother was essentially losing money to inflation every year while thinking she was building wealth. Here's the math that changed my entire financial strategy. If you save $500 monthly in a typical savings account earning 0.5% interest, it takes over 16 years to reach $100,000. But if you invest that same $500 monthly in index funds, averaging 10% annual returns, you hit $100,000 in just 10 years. That's 6 years of your life back, 6 years you could spend financially free instead of grinding toward a goal. Every dollar you invest becomes like a tiny employee that shows up to work every day, never calls in sick, never complains, and works 24/7, generating returns. But unlike human employees, these dollar workers multiply themselves. That's the magic of compound growth that most people never experience because they're too scared to move beyond savings accounts. The biggest lie people tell themselves is, I need to save more money before I can start investing. Wrong. You need to start investing before you save more money because investing changes your entire relationship with money. When you're just saving, every dollar feels like a sacrifice. When you're investing, every dollar feels like you're hiring another worker for your wealth-building team. Starting is shockingly simple. Open an investment account with Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. It takes 15 minutes online. Choose a target date fund that matches when you want to retire, or pick a total market index fund if you want simplicity. Set up automatic weekly or monthly contributions so you never have to think about it. The most dangerous myth about investing is that you need perfect timing. The market's too high right now. I'll wait for a crash. Let me study more first. This perfectionism paralysis has cost people millions in lost compound growth. Here's the truth. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time. I started investing with just $100 monthly while still paying off debt. That small start taught me something crucial. Investing isn't about having money, it's about becoming an investor. Once you see yourself as someone who owns assets instead of just saving cash, everything changes. But here's the problem most people face. They start investing without a clear destination, like driving cross-country without a GPS. You need a mathematically sound goal. Tip number 3, the reality calculator. Setting math-based goals, not dreams. I used to be the king of fantasy financial goals. I want to be a millionaire by 30, I'd announce confidently while saving $150 a month and buying $6 coffees daily. That's like saying I want to run a marathon while only jogging to the mailbox once a week. These fantasy goals didn't inspire me. They crushed me, because deep down I knew they were impossible with my current actions. The turning point came when my financially successful uncle asked me a simple question. What's your actual plan to reach that million? I started rambling about working harder and making smart investments, but he stopped me. Show me the math, he said. How much do you need to save monthly? For how many years? At what return rate? I couldn't answer a single question. That's when I realized I wasn't setting goals, I was making wishes. Here's the brutal truth about financial goal setting. Most people fail because they confuse dreams with plans. Dreams feel good but provide no roadmap. Plans might feel less exciting, but they actually get you there. The difference between saying, I want to be rich and I will save $850 monthly for 7 years to reach $100,000 is the difference between fantasy and inevitability. Let me give you the exact formula that transformed my financial life. Pick your target amount, let's say $100,000. Choose a realistic timeline based on your current situation. Then, use compound interest calculations to determine your required monthly savings. Here are the real numbers that most people never bothered to calculate. To reach $100,000 in 3 years, you need to save $20,300 monthly, assuming 10% annual returns. Can't do that? Don't abandon the goal. Adjust the timeline. Make it 5 years and you need $1,275 monthly. Still too much? Stretch it to 7 years. Now you need $850 monthly. Make it 10 years and you only need $580 monthly. This is where most people get it backwards. They break their budget trying to hit an unrealistic timeline, burn out, and quit completely. Smart people stretch the timeline and protect the habit. It's better to take 10 years and actually reach $100,000 than to attempt 3 years and give up after 6 months. Once you see these real numbers, everything changes. You stop guessing and start strategizing. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building systems. When I calculated that I needed $725 monthly to reach $100,000 in 8 years, suddenly I had a concrete target. I knew exactly what I needed to earn, save, and invest. The psychological power of math-based goals is incredible. Instead of asking, why am I skipping this vacation? You remind yourself, I'm buying years of financial freedom later. Instead of wondering, why am I still driving this old car? You realize every month without a car payment is another $400 fueling your future. When your goal is mathematically clear, sacrifice starts feeling like strategy instead of suffering. I track my progress monthly now, comparing my actual savings rate to my target. Some months I'm ahead, some behind, but I always know exactly where I stand and what adjustments I need to make. This isn't about perfection, it's about precision. But knowing exactly where you're going means nothing if money keeps leaking out of your financial bucket. Tip number 4. The wealth leak detector. Plugging the money drains. I thought I was a budgeting genius. I had a color-coded spreadsheet with 47 different expense categories, tracked every coffee purchase, and felt proud when I cut my grocery bill from $400 to $350 monthly. I was obsessed with optimizing the small stuff while completely ignoring the massive financial hemorrhaging happening right under my nose. My rent was $1,850 for a one-bedroom apartment because I deserved to live in the trendy part of town. My car payment was $520 monthly for a BMW I bought to look successful at work. Insurance, gas, and maintenance added another $400. I was bleeding $2,770 monthly on just housing and transportation, but I was focused on saving $3 by making coffee at home instead of buying Starbucks. It's like being on the Titanic and arguing about the cost of deck chairs while ignoring the massive hole in the hull. I was trying to save by cutting Band-Aids while hemorrhaging from major wounds. That financial wake-up call taught me the most important lesson about wealth building. It's not about perfecting tiny expenses. It's about controlling the big money drains that actually matter. Here's what nobody tells you about budgeting. There are only two expenses that truly determine whether you'll build wealth or stay broke forever: housing and transportation. Everything else is just rearranging furniture while your financial house burns down. Housing should never exceed 30% of your gross income, but most Americans spend 40 to 50%. That extra 15 to 20% doesn't just disappear, it compounds negatively for decades. Every $200 you overpay in rent isn't just $200 lost. It's $200 that could have been invested and grown into $400, $600 or more over time. That dream apartment you can barely afford is literally stealing years from your financial freedom. Transportation is the second wealth killer. The average American car payment is $563 monthly, plus insurance $150, gas $200, maintenance $100, and depreciation. That's over $1,000 monthly to move from point A to point B. Here's the brutal math. A $520 car payment for 6 years doesn't just cost you $37,440. It costs you the $75,000 to $100,000 that money could have become if invested instead. I learned this lesson the expensive way. That BMW made me feel successful for about 3 months. Then it became a financial prison. While I was making payments on a depreciating asset, my friends with modest cars were building investment portfolios. 5 years later, my BMW was worth $18,000 and their portfolios were worth $50,000 plus. Here's your wealth leak detection system. Track every expense for 30 days. Use Mint, YNAB, or a simple spreadsheet. Don't judge anything during this phase. Just collect data. Then identify your top 3 expense categories. For most people, it's housing, transportation, and food. Now here's the key. Reduce each major category by 15 to 20% through smarter choices, not deprivation. Move to a slightly less trendy neighborhood and save $300 monthly. Buy a reliable used car instead of financing a new one and save $400 monthly. Cook at home more often. Save $200 monthly. That's $900 monthly. You can redirect to investments without feeling deprived. The wealth mindset shift is crucial here. Stop asking, can I afford this monthly payment? Start asking, what does this cost my financial future? Every spending decision either accelerates or delays your $100,000 timeline. But here's the hard truth. You can only cut expenses so much before you're living like a monk. At some point, you need to focus on the unlimited side of the equation. Tip number 5. The income acceleration engine. Building your second financial stream. Here's what changed my 100K timeline from impossible dream to mathematical inevitability. I stopped trying to save my way to wealth and started earning my way there. 3 years ago, I was stuck saving $400 monthly while cutting every possible expense. At that rate, reaching $100,000 would take me 12 plus years. I felt like I was crawling toward financial freedom. Then I started freelance writing during evenings and weekends. Nothing fancy, just helping small businesses write blog posts and social media content. Within 6 months, I was earning an extra $800 monthly. Here's what blew my mind. That single side income stream didn't just add $800 to my savings, it cut 3 years off my wealth building timeline and taught me the most important lesson about money I'd ever learned. You can only budget so much, but you can earn infinitely. There's a hard limit to expense cutting. Eventually, you're eating ramen and living with roommates. But earning potential? That's unlimited. And in the early stages of wealth building, when your contributions matter more than your returns, extra income is pure acceleration fuel. Let me show you the mathematics that will change how you think about side income forever. Adding just $300 monthly to your investment contributions means reaching $100,000 approximately 2.5 years faster. An extra $500 monthly cuts 4 years off your timeline. An extra $1,000 monthly, you're looking at 6+ years saved. That's not just money. That's time, freedom, and peace of mind returned to your life. The beautiful part is that building extra income has never been easier. You don't need an office, employees, or massive startup capital. You need one marketable skill and enough initiative to get started. Are you good at writing, design, tutoring, coding, translating, or editing videos? There's a market for it, and you can start tonight. Here are the side income strategies that actually work. Skills-based services, freelance writing, graphic design, web development, online tutoring, virtual assistants. The platforms exist. Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer connect you with clients immediately. Product-based income, create digital templates, online courses, printables for Etsy or YouTube content. Don't want to show your face? No problem. Focus on written content, digital products, or behind-the-scenes services. Even simple arbitrage works. Buy underpriced items on Facebook Marketplace, clean them up, and resell on eBay. I know people making $500 monthly just flipping furniture and electronics in their spare time. The key is starting simple and scaling what works. My favorite approach is leveraging skills you already have. If you're good at Excel, offer bookkeeping services. If you're organized, become a virtual assistant. If you understand social media, help local businesses with their online presence. You're not starting from zero, you're monetizing existing knowledge. Here's the strategy that changed everything for me. Reinvest 100% of side income into investments. Don't use it for lifestyle upgrades or weekend spending. That extra income has one purpose: accelerating your path to $100,000. When I earned $800 from writing, all $800 went straight to my investment account. This creates compound acceleration because you're investing larger amounts while maintaining your existing lifestyle. Remember, this isn't forever. You don't need to hustle 24/7 for decades. You just need to push hard enough until your investment snowball starts rolling on its own. Once it does, you can scale back because your money keeps working and growing. Building extra income isn't just about making more money. It's about becoming more capable, resourceful, and financially independent. And when you combine increased earnings with everything else we've covered, something magical happens at $100,000. Something magical happens at $100,000. And I need you to understand this because it changes everything about how money works in your life. It's not instant. It doesn't come with fireworks, but it's the most powerful financial shift you'll ever experience. At $100,000 invested, earning 10% annually, your money generates $10,000 per year. That's $833 monthly in passive income you didn't have to work for. You didn't pull overtime, didn't take a second job, didn't sacrifice weekends. Your money did the job for you. For the first time in your life, you stop pushing the financial snowball uphill and start steering it as it rolls downhill. But the transformation goes deeper than just numbers. Something shifts in your brain when you cross that threshold. You stop thinking, how can I make more money? And start asking, how can I make my money work better? You stop seeing money as something to spend for immediate pleasure and start seeing it as a tool, a system, a machine that builds your future. That $100 stops being new shoes and becomes a seed that could grow to $300 to $500 if I invest it instead. Impulse spending starts feeling like sabotage, and patience begins feeling like power. You develop what wealthy people call investor consciousness. You think in systems, not purchases. Here's the brutal truth that most people never want to hear. 95% of Americans will never reach their first $100,000. Not because they're lazy, not because they're bad with money, but because they give up in the silent part before momentum kicks in. They quit right before the compound curve bends upward, right before their money starts doing the heavy lifting. They get discouraged when their first year of investing only shows $300 in growth on $30,600 contributed. They don't realize they're building the foundation for something incredible. They abandon the process exactly when they should be doubling down. But you don't have to be part of that statistic. You now have the exact blueprint that took me from $12,000 in debt to $100,000 in assets. Here's your action plan, and I need you to start immediately, not when conditions are perfect. This week, list every debt you have and rank them by interest rate. Attack the highest interest debt with every extra dollar you can find. This month, open an investment account and set up automatic contributions, even if you can only start with $100. The habit matters more than the amount. In the next 30 days, calculate your realistic 100K timeline using the compound interest formulas I shared. Know exactly how much you need to save monthly and for how many years. This removes all guesswork and gives your discipline a clear purpose. Ongoing. Track your expenses for 1 month and identify the big money leaks. Focus on housing and transportation costs. These determine whether you build wealth or stay broke. Start immediately. Research one side income opportunity that matches your existing skills. Don't wait for perfection. Start with progress. Every dollar you save today is a silent worker that never clocks out, never complains, and works 24/7 building your financial freedom. Your future millionaire self is waiting for the decision you make right now. Which of these 5 strategies will you implement first? Comment below and tell me your biggest challenge on the road to $100,000. Let's make this a space for real strategies and real progress, not just motivation. Remember, the first $100,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save, but it's also the most important. Once you cross that line, the game changes forever.